sit through 180 episodes of shitty writing, repetitive dialogue, and boring model work or animation. 8 whole seasons of it, just to make my statements and complaints as accurate as possible. The things I do for you people. I felt like giving up on this video series halfway through the Sharon Mill era because there weren't any signs of improvement anywhere. But then, just as I was about to, please excuse the pun, I saw a light at the end of the tunnel. At first, I thought I had died from boredom and was entering heaven. But then my vision became more clear. What I actually saw were Bill and Ben, the tank engine twins. I had finally arrived, not to heaven, but to the start of something so great. That was what I truly felt back in 2013. Back then, I thought season 17 was the best thing ever because of how different it was compared to the 4 seasons before it. Some people say season 16 was an improvement. Season 17 looks like The Wind in the Willows compared to that. I just don't even know where to begin. This season does so many things right that it's hard to find the best place to start. Andrew Brenner, Ian McHugh, and the rest of the new production team took nearly every single complaint fans, or one fan, had with the Sharon Miller seasons and got rid of them. Here is a list of said improvements. Henry hasn't needed special coal since season 1, yet they treat him as if he needs it all the time.
Henry's broken down.
Don't tell me he needs special coal again.
No, Gordon. That was fixed years ago.
The engines are constantly using Rocky to clear up messes or loading trucks, forgetting that Harvey exists.
Harvey, the crane engine. If there's heavy cargo that needs lifting, Harvey is just the engine for the job.
None of the new characters get any focus episodes or clear personalities, so why should we care about them?
Sometimes I wish I could go off without a driver.
I'll have you know they used to call me the Rocket because I was so speedy.
There is no reason for Sodor to have 2 fire engines at once.
You don't need me, Butch. Belle can put it out.
But the fire's not at Ulstead Castle. It's at Brendan Docks. Belle can't go. She has to stay at the fireworks.
Really?
Percy is constantly pulling the mail train during the day and not during the night, like it was established at the beginning.
Hang on. If I'm here, what's Percy doing?
He's taking the mail train, so everyone will have their letters in the morning.
The dialogue isn't actual dialogue or banter. It's either rhymes, alliteration, or the same lines copied and pasted over and over again.
Where are my coaches? I shouldn't be kept waiting.
Maybe you should fetch your own coaches, Gordon.
Well, it's not my fault if Percy's not as brave as I am.
If you're so brave, why don't you go out at night and pull the mail train?
Better put your hook in the water, Harvey, if you want to catch something.
The engines are constantly abandoning their simple-as-hell jobs just to look for or do something juvenile.
I would like you to take this gift from me to the Duchess of Boxford.
No problem, sir.
Emily lazily reuses Henry's whistle, despite her having an original whistle since season 7. The characters make the same or multiple mistakes 3 times in a row in order to make the episodes 9 minutes long.
Look out!
Seriously, I cannot believe these episodes are real. They are such an improvement over everything I suffered through that it's completely hard to believe these episodes exist. Although I do understand that this season isn't perfect. There are some elements that needed cleaning up. The animation, for example. When I first saw this, it all felt like the opposite of what came before. We used to have shitty writing but great animation. Well, now we have great writing but shitty animation. There is detail in the graphics for sure, but only in close-up shots of objects or engines. From a wide shot, it looks like something from a PC game or something. Not to mention, they reuse certain bits of animation here or there, and there are even times where the editors forget to put in fade transitions.
Early days.
The next day, the Fat Controller and Winston.
Early days.
But on the other hand, the characters' faces are much more expressive and alive. They use more creative camera angles or camera movements. The engines don't wobble around like bobbleheads every time they move forward or bump into a truck. And there is much better lighting. The Nitrogen season's lighting made everything look really dull, while here it's much brighter and more appealing. Even though the writing is a lot better now, there are still some episodes that are below average. Steamy Stafford. I don't think Stafford really needed Thomas or Percy's help to make steam engine sounds. He can just make them up just by observing them, like he does when he sees Henry and Gordon later on. And the fact that he's making these noises with his mouth feels rather low to me. Also, since when did he regularly take trains all across the main line and stuff? I thought his battery wasn't big or strong enough to make him go that far. This whole thing honestly feels like a cut season 16 episode. The Lost Path. Speaking of cut season 16 episodes...
Go on! Get a good run at it and go back really fast!
Good idea!
No, it isn't. Besides from the water tower incident, Thomas most likely would have derailed after that stunt, but for some reason, he didn't. Even if this was the third episode produced for this season, I don't think Thomas would have approved of that idea. There's also a 3 strikes formula in this episode. Technically, first the steam from the bridge, then the cloud over the castle, and then going to the steamworks. Also, the mall feels really simple and kind of forced.
I also learned that when the Fat Controller says don't be silly, I shouldn't be so silly.
I don't know, Paxton is enjoyable and everything, but this episode really didn't click with me. The Phantom Express.
What's that noise then?
It was only an owl hooting.
How could any of them not know that that was an owl? Aside from that, it's pretty underwhelming. James was teasing Percy just because. Hell, it wasn't even Halloween during the episode. So, why? He says the Phantom has a whistle, yet he thinks it's around when he hears 2 whistles at the same time. How does that work? And at the very end, the Fat Controller punishes James with pulling the mail for a month. That sounds more like a punishment for Percy than for James. Isn't pulling the mail his favourite job? The missing Christmas decorations. It honestly felt like Day of the Diesels combined with The Grinch, which isn't really that interesting in the grand scheme of things. Although I do love the whole thing with Sydney.
It's been about 2 years.
And the Thomas Way, just because Doug keeps mentioning the Great Western Way all the time, and...
Don't we know it?
And... I think that's it. These Brenner era episodes are actually harder to review. It's hard to say which episodes are good and which ones are bad. This era does have great writing, but this season is usually considered the worst of this era. But at the same time, I've clearly seen much worse writing in the past few days. So, screw it. The rest of this season is great. There are episodes where they improved on characters that I originally didn't like. Kevin's cranky Fred turned Kevin from a clumsy comic relief character who constantly drops everything just for a cheap laugh to a hard-working, helpful Crane who I actually sympathize with. And in Not Now Charlie, not only are Charlie's jokes a lot better, not only are the engines focusing on their jobs this time instead of listening to said jokes, not only was he doing something that's actually useful for once, and not only is Charlie not being a dick to anyone here, but he actually understands the danger of telling stupid jokes all the time.
Charlie had learned that when he told jokes all the time, nobody took him seriously. So he decided never to tell another joke again.
My god, does this mean we'll never see this dick again? Or at the very least, he's going to change his ways and be a much more bearable character now?
But that decision didn't last very long.
Hey, Salty, how do elephants fly? By jumbo jets!
God damn it. Well, at least the writers tried. Some episodes feature the return of fan-favorite or highly requested characters, which include Doug, Harvey, Bill, and Ben. All of them we had already seen in minor roles in minor episodes, but they actually give each of them an episode in a lead role. So they're not just putting them back into the show for fan service, they are reintroducing them for the child audience that had never heard of them before, giving character descriptions in the openings and everything. Bill or Ben and Gone Fishing are creative episodes in their own right. An episode where Bill and Ben trick the other engines with different paint jobs, or acknowledging the fact that Harvey doesn't just lift things with his crane, he can pull trains as well. It's so interesting. Not only are they focusing on returning characters, but they are also taking the time to focus or expand on Miller-era characters who didn't get many episodes to themselves. You know, Scruff, Bell, Flynn, Charlie, Stafford, Hero, and Winston. Scruff doesn't like being cleaned and repainted, but he soon grows to like his new look, and he then decides to avoid doing dirty work at the waste dump, not just because of his paintwork, but he also doesn't want to disappoint the Fat Controller, who sent him to be repainted in the first place. Winston grows impatient over the Fat Controller's rough driving and wishes that he didn't have a driver, but he soon learns the error of his ways by rolling down the line on his own. Flynn tries to do his best to do a good job of fighting fires. He gives himself up after many failed attempts, but he then realizes why he is just as important as Bell is. And on 2 occasions, we see Hero as a strong, determined engine, whether he is suffering from some bad coal or dealing with some really troublesome trucks. And Diesel, he tries his best to be polite, kind, and to get the job done, no matter what. Oh yeah, I almost forgot about the new characters. All of them have a chance to shine too, and all of them are great and enjoyable. First, there's Millie! I like her determination and hard-working nature, from her jobs at the Earl's estate to working at the quarry for the first time. She isn't afraid to give anything a try. I also like how she can be cheerful and bubbly one minute, but then she can be stern and passionate instantly if something goes wrong. Connor and Caitlin get an episode each, showing that they love going fast and winning races with others, but they soon learn the problems of being so full of energy, especially in Caitlin's case. Porter is a great new character. Whenever someone teases or mocks him about his appearance, he doesn't take it personally. He just ignores the things they say and knows that what causes the teasing makes him special and useful. He also knows how to cheer engines like Harvey up, or he encourages them with his own advice.
I don't let it bother me. I just let what they say slide out of my mind.
I'll talk more about Luke when I talk about Blue Mountain Mystery, but to put it simply, he's a little Irish sweetheart. I like that he's a hard-working engine in a loud, rough environment, but he's very kind and gentle too. But I think Steven is one of my favourite newbies this season. He gives good, wise advice and brightens engine spirits, like in Percy's Lucky Day. He's wise enough to know how to encourage bigger engines like Spencer. He always tries his best to please the Earl, even if he is not as fast or as strong as he used to be. And he has a ton of charmingly funny lines.
Well, that wasn't very clever now, was it? Whoa! Careful! I'm an antique, you know! Hello, Percy. I see you found the meeting place.
The voice acting has been improved as well. Not only were the current VAs improving their vocal ranges and performances, especially Ben Small's Thomas voice, but they started bringing in actors who only voice one or two characters, like Michael Legge as Luke, Jonathan Broadbent as Bill and Ben, Bob Golding as Stephen and Sydney, Mike Grady as Sir Robert Norby, Jonathan Forbes as Connor, Rebecca O'Mara as Caitlin, and Miranda Rayson as Millie. Oh yeah, and Mark Morgan is the new narrator, in the UK and in the US. Well, that's a first. Technically, I think voice acting is one of the better ways of saving their budgets. Anyways, he's fine. He's not my favourite per se, but he does do a good job of telling the stories, and I'm glad that he is still telling Thomas stories outside of the show. And finally, the songs. Hey Hey Thomas is really boring, honestly. I like that the lyrics explain about characters other than the STEAM team, but the rest of the lyrics are really simple, and I think the singer is forcing himself to do high notes. On a Journey Today, however, is much better. It has fast-paced lyrics, a catchy beat, and a pretty good instrumental. Well, sure, I spent longer than usual talking about this one, but Season 17 is such an improvement that there is so much to talk about. I do know that it's not a perfect season. Some of the episodes feel shallow and underwhelming, and the animation will definitely get better. But the new characters are all likable, the returning characters get great reintroductions, the main characters have been reverted back to their originals more and more, the voice acting is better, the writing is better, there is more attention to detail in some areas, and not only are the new ideas and episodes very creative and open lots of story potential, but they build ideas for some episodes by paying homage to or referencing the classic series or the railway series.
There are two of you. You played a trick on me.
Yeah, Twinkle Toes!
There is only two ways to do things, Thomas. The Great Western Way and the wrong way.
You should go to the Diesel Works. They'll tell you what's wrong with you.
And risk being cast away in that quarry again? No chance.
It's safe to say that for the first time in a long time, I am excited to see what the next season brings.